My name is Alba. I'm with Temple of Geek, and
Hi.
I wanted to ask, what did you do to prepare for this type of role, which is so, violent, bloody? How did you get into the, mind space?
I think I boxed when I was younger, and so I love physical roles, and so it wasn't necessarily preparing for this role, but I feel like I have experience hitting people and being hit. So that always comes in handy with this kind of work. And then I looked for what was online, and there was not a lot. So it was kind of a cool combination of one sentence. She fought her way out of Afghanistan dressed as a man. And you're like, okay, well then I know she's a complete badass, but that she's super physical, she's fearless, and so filtering that through also on the audition sides, it said that she had a real streak of mischief, and so I loved that idea that she isn't just completely one-dimensional, like I'm a badass. It's that she also is like, let's do this.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I think the way that she was drawn, I loved that they made her less bodacious and more punk rock in this version, and being an old punk rock chick, I appreciated that very much. And so, also, I love this sort of wasteland, sort of Mad Max feeling to it. So I think on some level that was, I'm half Australian, so the whole Mad Max thing is a big deal for us. And so there was inspiration for that, for sure. But just that she was like the punk rock chicks that I idolized when I was a younger kid going to shows, and so it was kind of a mixture of a few different things.
I gotta ask, you a gamer girl? When you were MK Universe prior to stepping into the film?
I played Mortal Kombat for the first time this morning.
All right.
And I just want you to know.
As Kira.
She wasn't in the. It was the stand-up. It was the. But I kicked Ron's butt.
Wow, there you go.
I was like, I'm actually a ringer, because he was like, well, I haven't played in a while, and they were like, do this interview and play. And I was like, how does this work? I'm like, and then I was like, oh, button smash, just like, yeah. And it was like, I win. I was like, I kept saying Sonya wins, and I was like, so, And then as soon as the cameras started rolling, he kicked my butt, and I was like, I just want you all to know that I won the first 3 games.
Excuse me. How did you prepare, for this role, and how did you develop the character's voice?
It's a particular laugh that just makes me laugh. She has this deep kind of they said in the sides that they wanted it textured. I did 2 different versions of her. I did a much younger sounding, early, mid-20s, where she was a little more high pitched and a little bit more kind of just a little pitchier, and then they ended up kind of going with my voice, just me on a bad day. And so I prepared 2 different roles, and they just chose the one that they liked. But I feel like as a voice actor, we prepare for things all the time, because when we get in the booth, we don't have a lot of time to make things up. So you really have to be on the spot, have a huge imagination, and then also be paying attention when you're not in the booth, when you're watching movies, TV, listening to music and things like that, so that you can pull it out. Like a certain song will do, I was talking about Korn's Coming Undone, bands like that will get me into the mood when I'm going to a session where I know that I'm going to play a character like that. So it is a sort of mixed media mashup of things that I've been paying attention to before I get there. And then you give them the audition and you basically say, this is my version of her at a certain age, this is another version of her, which one do you want? And they say, well, we like that one. And you go, great. So you have to have it really pretty firmly formed before you get in there.
As an aspiring voiceover artist, I thank you for that, and that's awesome sauce.
Absolutely, yeah. Just pay attention to everything when you can. Like gather all the stories so that they're in your head when you get in the booth. Because then somebody will go like, okay, now you're going to be a koala. Okay, now you're a Scottish tomato, and you're like, did you say a Scottish tomato? And then you're like, I got a Scottish tomato. So good luck. I hope we get to work together.
Was there a part of her character development or herself that surprised you when you were going over the script and you were learning more about her as you're bringing the story?
I think it was the fact that she. The fish hook for me, in looking at different characters, I look for things that I call fish hooks, which are just like something that will get you into the moment immediately. And for her, it was that they mentioned that there's not food. There's a whole scene about not having food, and so that was the fish hook that got me to. And I was sort of surprised because I thought, she's a badass, but I'm like, she's hungry. They're talking about not having like fresh. I mean, it's like you do a lot of crazy shit when you're sorry.
No.
When you're hungry, and it's so there was that element of like a hungry child almost to her, and then how she sides. Where you're like, what choice do you make? Do you be with the person that treats you the best, even though it's maybe not the right choice?
Yeah.
So that was a dimension I hadn't really dug into until we got to working. And then having to come in and do the vocal acrobatics to match her fight stuff, coming in and doing pickups when she's doing stuff that I've literally never. I was like, so wait, she's like doing a like forward flip somersault with a sweep. That's when, your imagination has to be really good. You're like, the last time I did a forward flip kick, front roll sweep kick.
Every day
sound.
Every Tuesday.
Yeah, but so that's another thing of like the physicality of sound that you have to bring, especially to something like this where the fighting is such a touchstone. So that was a challenge. But we got through it.
Yes.
It was okay, and you guys believed it.
Oh, absolutely did. Total badass.
What do you thought you had a black light?
Well, I tried to steal that guy's though. Not the first time. I've met him before, and I was like,
He's talented in a video game. Mortal Kombat.
I did call him a cream puff.
Oh, there you go.
And now I know I can kick some ass in Mortal Kombat. So, but only the very, very old
You're gonna catch
stand-up
him
game.
off guard. That's the whole point. That's the plan.
But as a small person, I understand this. That is always the plan. Catch them off guard. Yeah, I just got to do it first.
Yes.
Stealth mode.
Exactly. And then that's it. One round. I'm done. That's it. Give me your belt.
Yep. Kick them low. Just remember, go low. They're always this is the surprise element. That's right. It's way less time for me to get to the floor and kick you.
Excuse me. Do you think new fans who've never seen anything of Mortal Kombat before can easily get into this?
I do think so. I think they did a wonderful way of like presenting some new stuff, but also keeping that sort of splatter core that everybody loves. So there's still tons of the classic violence, but so I think they did justice to that.
I can't wait to see this movie in audio descriptive just because of all the blood and violence and seeing that. That's going to be described for people who are blind or severely visually.
Yeah. And what's really beautiful too is that Ron's voice and David's voice. I know he wasn't. Kano's voice is so sort of piercing and evil, and that Australian accent. Sorry, Dad. It can be a little, like the juxtaposition between Ron's like buttery, velvety voice. So I think that's another like aural keynote that they'll be able to hook into. So it's cool.
And now we get to go home.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, you guys.